Lisa didn't even have time to flinch. The milkshake hit the floor, the laughter cut through the diner, and Olivia Bennett, 17, rich, cruel, spit in her face. The room went silent. Lisa froze, humiliation burning down her neck, while phones came up to record. And from the dark corner booth, a man in a gray suit stood up. No one moved. No one breathed. Because everyone in Miller's Diner knew exactly who he was. Marco Conti, the Mafia boss. Then, turning to the girl who'd just humiliated her, he said quietly, "Pick up the napkin and apologize." The bell above the diner door jingled, the kind of small metallic sound that usually went unnoticed in Miller's Diner. The air smelled of burnt coffee, bacon grease, and the faint sweetness of pie cooling behind the counter. For Lisa Smith, 24, it was just another Thursday night, another shift, another long list of orders that would barely cover rent. She wiped her hands on her apron and smiled automatically at the couple in booth 3. The smile never reached her eyes anymore. It hadn't for a long time. The diner was the kind of place that felt frozen in time. Red leather booths, checkered floor, jukebox that never worked, and a neon sign buzzing in the window that read, "Open 24 hours." It was home to tired truck drivers, lonely office workers, and small-town souls who had nowhere else to go after midnight. Lisa belonged here because she didn't belong anywhere else. At the far end, in the corner booth where the lights didn't reach, sat 5 men. They were always there on Thursdays, quiet, clean-cut in expensive suits that didn't match the greasy smell of the diner. They didn't flirt, didn't joke, didn't even order much. They just watched. Lisa never asked questions. She brought their coffee, refilled it when the cups were half empty, and pretended she didn't feel their presence like static against her skin. That night, everything changed. The door opened again, and the air shifted. 4 teenagers strutted in as if they were walking onto a red carpet. Designer jackets, diamond earrings, the newest phones in their manicured hands. Their laughter was sharp, meant to be heard. At the front of the group was Olivia Bennett, 17, daughter of a state senator who owned half the billboards in town. Everyone knew the Bennetts. They didn't come to places like Miller's Diner. Lisa's stomach tightened. Trouble. They picked the booth closest to the window, right where everyone could see them. Olivia snapped her fingers and Lisa approached, pen and pad ready. "What can I get for you tonight?" Lisa asked politely. Olivia smiled without warmth. 4 chocolate shakes. And a round of tequila. Lisa blinked. "I'm sorry, ma'am, we don't serve alcohol to minors." Olivia tilted her head. "Do I look like a minor to you?" Her friends laughed. One boy held up his phone, already recording. "Come on, Liv, she's just doing her job." Olivia ignored him. "Listen, waitress," she said, drawing the word out like it was dirty. "When my father's campaign dinners spend more in a night than this dump makes in a year, you'll bring what I ask for." Lisa kept her voice calm. "It's against the law. I could lose my job." "Oh, honey," Olivia said, leaning back. "You already lost your dignity. Look at this place." She gestured around the diner. Sticky tables, broken jukebox, fries that smell like they've been cooked twice, and you. Her gaze raked up and down Lisa's uniform. "You smell like grease and desperation." The laughter stung like slap after slap. Lisa forced her lips into a polite line. "I'll get your milkshakes." She turned toward the counter, heat burning behind her eyes. "Just keep walking," she told herself. "Don't give them what they want." She'd survived worse. She could survive this. Then she heard it. A wet, sharp sound. Something hit her cheek. Warm. Disgusting. The taste of salt and soda and humiliation filled her mouth before she even realized what had happened. Olivia Bennett had spit on her. The world stopped. Every conversation died. The hiss of the fryer, the hum of the neon light, even the old ceiling fan seemed to freeze. Lisa stood there, eyes wide, one trembling hand pressed against her face. Olivia's phone camera was pointed straight at her. "Smile for the camera, sweetheart," Olivia said sweetly. "Maybe someone will finally notice you." Laughter again, but this time nervous, uncertain. People at nearby tables shifted uncomfortably, staring down at their plates. No one said a word. Lisa felt her throat tighten. 1,000 words crowded her tongue, none of them strong enough. She wanted to disappear, and then a chair scraped across the floor. Low, heavy, purposeful. From the shadowed corner a tall man rose. He moved slowly, deliberately, like a storm deciding where to land. The 4 men with him followed his gaze toward the booth of teenagers, but didn't move. They didn't have to. Everyone knew who he was, even if they never said his name aloud. Marco Conti. Lisa had heard whispers, rumors about what he did, who he was, what happened to people who disrespected him. She'd never believed any of it. Until now. Marco walked the length of the diner, the soles of his black shoes echoing against the tiles. The teenagers fell silent, their laughter dying mid-breath. The boys shifted back instinctively. Olivia tried to hold her chin high, but her hand trembled around her phone. He stopped beside Lisa. For a moment, he didn't speak. He simply looked at her. His eyes, dark, steady, unreadable, took in the tear tracks on her cheeks, the spit glistening on her skin. His jaw clenched once, then relaxed. He reached for a napkin from the counter. His voice, when it came, was calm, low, and intimate. "Hold still, sweetheart." The word rolled off his tongue with quiet authority, not mocking, not pitying, just certain. Lisa obeyed before she even realized it. Her breath caught as he gently lifted her chin and wiped her cheek clean, slow and deliberate, as though the act itself mattered. The diner remained silent. Every pair of eyes watched them. When the napkin came away, Marco turned and placed it on Olivia's table. "Pick it up," he said. Olivia blinked. "Excuse me?" He leaned down slightly, his voice dropping to a whisper that carried through the silence anyway. "You spit on a woman in front of me. You're going to apologize. Right now." Olivia opened her mouth to argue, but one of the boys hissed, "Liv, just do it." Marco's men hadn't moved, but their mere presence, the cold focus in their eyes, the way the entire diner seemed to shrink around them, was enough to make everyone understand. This man didn't bluff. Olivia swallowed. "I'm sorry." "Louder," Marco said. "I'm sorry," she said again, voice breaking. Marco nodded once, then stepped back. "Now leave." They didn't hesitate. The group scrambled out, bumping into chairs, leaving half-finished milkshakes and the stench of fear behind them. The door slammed, the bell above it giving a weak jingle. Silence returned. Marco turned back to Lisa. The shift in his tone was immediate, almost disorienting. "Are you all right?" She tried to answer, but her voice caught. I think so." His gaze softened. "Good." Then lower, for her ears alone. "Nobody touches you again. Ever." Something in his words, the absolute certainty of them, went straight through her chest. He didn't sound like a man making a promise. He sounded like a man stating a law. He walked back to his booth, placed a $100 bill on the table, and left without looking back. His men followed in perfect formation. When the black SUV outside rolled away, the air in the diner finally moved again. People began whispering. A woman at the counter muttered, Was that Marco Conti?" Someone else said, "God help that girl if she got his attention." Lisa stood there, napkin still clutched in her hand, her pulse hammering in her throat. For a moment, she wanted to run after him, to say thank you, to say nothing at all, to just understand what had happened. Instead, she finished her shift in silence, avoiding every curious glance. When the last customer left, she scrubbed the same table 3 times. The spit was long gone, but she could still feel it burning on her skin, and beneath it, the ghost of Marco's touch. Outside, rain started to fall, tapping softly against the windows. The neon sign flickered, bathing the diner in red light. The door creaked open again. Officer Davis stepped inside, rain dripping from his hat. He'd been a regular for years, usually friendly. Tonight, he looked nervous. "You okay, Lisa?" he asked quietly. She nodded, forcing a small smile. "Yeah, just another night." He sighed. No, it's not. I saw the video. Lisa froze. Video? It's already online, spreading fast. He rubbed the back of his neck. People are saying Senator Bennett's daughter was attacked in your diner. That man. He hesitated, lowering his voice. You know who he was, right? Lisa shook her head. Marco Conti, he whispered. You don't get between him and something he cares about. You did good staying quiet. I didn't do anything, she said softly. Exactly. He looked at her with something like pity. Just be careful. When a man like that steps in, things have a way of changing. Lisa watched him leave. Outside, headlights swept across the window. For a heartbeat, she thought she saw a black SUV parked across the street, engine idling, lights dimmed, a shadow behind the wheel. Watching. Her stomach fluttered, not with fear exactly, but something that made her chest tighten. She turned off the lights, locked the door, and stepped into the rain. Maybe he was gone. Maybe he wasn't. But one thing was certain. For the first time in years, she didn't feel invisible. She just didn't know yet if being seen by a man like Marco Conti was salvation, or the start of something far more dangerous. The rain hadn't stopped all night. It drummed softly on the cracked roof of Miller's diner, mixing with the faint buzz of the neon sign that refused to die. The pink glow flickered across the wet asphalt, the puddles, and the open 24 hours that lied, because at 2 a.m., the place was empty except for Lisa Smith. She stood behind the counter, wiping it down for the third time, even though it already shone. Her body ached, but she couldn't go home yet. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Olivia Bennett's face, the flash of the phone camera, and Marco Conti's hand on her cheek. It replayed like a dream, or a warning. She told herself she didn't care who he was, that it didn't matter. But deep down, something in her had changed. For years, Lisa had lived quietly. No trouble, no attention. Now the whole town knew her name. And the internet did too. The door rattled. She flinched. The bell above it didn't ring, because the door hadn't opened yet. It was locked. Then a sharp knock. She hesitated, peering through the glass. 2 men stood outside, suits too nice for this part of town. One was tall, with a politician's smile and a coat that looked new. The other had the thick neck and restless eyes of someone paid to intimidate. Lisa hesitated. We're closed. The taller man smiled pleasantly. We just need a quick word, miss, about last night. Her stomach dropped. They flashed ID badges that looked official, but the lamination gleamed cheap under the streetlight. She didn't want to let them in, but fear and politeness made her hands move anyway. She unlocked the door. As soon as it opened, they stepped inside and flipped the lock again. The taller man took off his hat, shaking rain from his sleeves. You're Lisa Smith, correct? Yes. We're here on behalf of Mr. Bennett, Senator Bennett. He smiled, the kind that didn't reach his eyes. He's very upset about what happened with his daughter. Lisa's fingers tightened on her cleaning rag. Your daughter spit on me. The man's expression didn't change. His daughter is 17, miss. Frightened. You know how the internet twists things. The other man circled behind her, casual, too close. We'd appreciate it if you'd sign a statement clarifying that you provoked the situation. Just a misunderstanding. Helps everyone move on. Lisa took a step back. I won't lie. The taller man sighed like he'd expected that answer. Miss Smith, people believe what they're told. Do you want to be the reason a young girl's reputation is destroyed? She opened her mouth, but the other man grabbed her wrist. Maybe you don't understand how serious this can get for you. Lisa's breath caught. Let go of me. He didn't. His grip tightened. Just sign the paper. The rag fell from her hand. The clock ticked loud above them. She thought about screaming, but no one would hear her at this hour. Then the door unlocked. No sound, just the quiet click of a key sliding home. The man's hand froze around her wrist. He turned. Marco Conti stepped through the doorway, a single droplet of rain rolling off his dark coat. Behind him stood 2 of his men, Luca Romano and Enzo Ricci, both silent, both watching. No one spoke. Marco's eyes moved from Lisa's wrist to the man holding it. His expression didn't change, but something invisible in the room shifted, like the air itself had learned fear. "Take your hand off her," Marco said quietly. The man released her instantly, stumbling back. "Mr. Conti, this is just a misunderstanding." Marco walked forward, calm, precise. "I'm sure it is." He glanced at the paper on the counter. "You came here to get her to lie." No, sir. We were just trying to—" "You were told to," Marco interrupted. "By Bennett." The taller man's throat bobbed. "We're only following orders." Marco smiled slightly, the kind of smile that chilled blood. "So am I." He nodded once. Luca moved before anyone could blink, stepping forward, his presence alone enough to make both men back toward the door. No one raised a hand. There was no shouting, no threats, just the heavy silence of power. "Out," Marco said. They left, quickly. One tripped over the door frame in his haste. When the door clicked shut again, the diner felt even smaller. Lisa stood frozen behind the counter. Her pulse was wild. "You shouldn't have let them in," Marco said softly. Her eyes snapped up. "I didn't know who they were." He studied her, eyes dark under the diner's flickering light. "Now you do." She wanted to ask how he knew they were here, why he had keys, why he kept showing up right when things went wrong. But all that came out was, "You had a key." Marco's tone was calm. "The owner owes me a favor. This place stays safe because of that." Her heartbeat quickened. "So you control this place?" "I protect it," he corrected. "And the people who work in it." Lisa crossed her arms, fighting the trembling in her hands. "I don't need your protection." He tilted his head slightly. "You sure about that?" She opened her mouth, but the words faltered. He wasn't wrong. Marco took a slow step closer, closing the distance between them until she could smell rain and clean cologne. "You think I stepped in last night because I needed to prove something?" he asked quietly. "You were standing there shaking and nobody moved. Not one person. That's why I got up." Her voice barely rose above a whisper. "You don't even know me." His eyes softened for the first time. "You'd be surprised." She frowned. "What does that mean?" He didn't answer. Instead, he reached for her hand, the one still red from the man's grip, and looked at the faint bruise forming there. His thumb brushed over it gently. Lisa flinched at the contact, not because it hurt, but because it didn't. Marco's jaw tightened. "You live alone?" "Yes." "Not anymore." Her brows drew together. "Excuse me?" He looked directly into her eyes. "You're staying somewhere else tonight." She laughed nervously. "No, I'm not." "Yes," he said simply. "You are." Lisa stepped back. "You can't just decide that." "I can," he said quietly. "And I just did." He moved around the counter, picked up her coat from the hook and held it out. "Put it on." "Marco." "Sweetheart," he interrupted, his voice low but firm. "I'm not asking." The word sweetheart hit her like a current. She stared at him, breathing fast. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you don't understand what kind of men you're dealing with. Bennett isn't going to stop. His pride's hurt. He'll send people again, and next time, I might not get here in time." Lisa's throat tightened. "And you will? Just show up again like some... He stepped closer. "Like some what?" Her voice broke. "Like some hero who thinks I'm worth saving." For a long moment, neither of them moved. Rain pattered against the window. The neon light flickered, painting his face in red and shadow. Marco finally spoke. "You are worth saving." She didn't know what to do with that. Nobody had ever said those words to her before. He handed her coat back, softer this time. "Get your things. I'll take you somewhere safe." Lisa hesitated, searching his face for a trace of cruelty or manipulation, something to make it easier to refuse him. But all she saw was calm certainty. Outside, a black SUV idled by the curb. Luca waited at the wheel, cigarette glowing in the dark. Lisa sighed, grabbed her purse, and followed Marco out into the rain. The ride was silent. Streetlights passed like ghosts through the tinted windows. Marco sat beside her, his jacket still damp, his profile sharp under the dim glow of the dashboard. Lisa wanted to ask where they were going, but the weight of his presence kept her quiet. Finally she whispered, "Do you do this often?" He turned his head. "Do what? Rescue waitresses who make the wrong people angry?" A faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "No, you're the first." Her heart stumbled at the way he said it. Not joking, not teasing, just honest. She looked away, hands twisting in her lap. "You scare me a little." "Good," he said softly. "Fear keeps people alive." Then, gentler, "But you don't have to be afraid of me." The SUV slowed as they entered a private underground garage beneath a tall building downtown. Concrete walls, security cameras, polished cars lined in silence. Luca parked and got out. Marco opened Lisa's door himself. "Where are we?" she asked. "My place." "I can't stay here." He interrupted with that same steady tone. "You can, and you will, just for tonight." He guided her to a private elevator that opened directly into a penthouse. Glass walls overlooking the city, sleek furniture, quiet music humming from hidden speakers. Lisa stepped inside, stunned. It didn't smell like money. It smelled like order. Marco turned on a soft lamp near the couch. "You'll stay in the guest room. Luca will bring you clothes in the morning. If you need anything, use that phone on the table. It connects only to me." Lisa turned to him. "Why are you doing this?" He met her gaze without hesitation. "Because I saw a woman get spit on for doing her job, and it reminded me of everything I hate about this city." She swallowed. "That's not a reason to—" "It is for me." He stepped closer, stopping just short of touching her. His voice dropped to a whisper. "From now on, you don't walk home alone. You don't answer strange numbers. You don't open locked doors after hours. You let me handle it." Lisa's breath trembled. "You talk like you own me." His expression didn't change. "Maybe I just don't like sharing what I protect." Their eyes met, her heartbeat loud in her ears, his gaze steady and unblinking. For a long second, she thought he might touch her again. He didn't. He simply said, "Get some rest," and walked toward the elevator. "Marco," she called softly. He paused. She searched for the right words. "I don't even know what to thank you for." He looked back, expression unreadable. "Then don't thank me yet." The elevator doors closed, leaving her alone in a silence so deep she could hear her own heartbeat. Outside, the rain finally stopped. Lisa sat on the edge of the guest room bed, staring at the city lights below, wondering who exactly had just brought her here, her savior or her captor. And somewhere far below, in the same building's garage, Marco Conti spoke quietly into his phone. "Keep a car on her building," he said. "No one goes near it. Not the Bennetts, not their men, not anyone." He ended the call, eyes on the skyline. He didn't know it yet, but this waitress, the girl with fire behind her fear, was about to change everything. Lisa didn't remember falling asleep. One second she was sitting on the edge of the bed in the guest room, staring at the city through floor-to-ceiling glass, his voice still in her head, her heart still racing from the way he said, "You're staying here." And the next, she woke up in sheets softer than anything she'd ever touched. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. The ceiling wasn't stained. The air didn't smell like old frying oil. No thudding footsteps from the neighbor upstairs. No sirens. No yelling through thin walls. Just quiet. Real quiet. Her throat felt tight. It wasn't just that the bed was comfortable. It was that she felt safe. Then memory hit hard, fast. Olivia's spit. Her name online. Bennett's men in the diner. Marco's hand on her wrist. Calm. Certain. "Sweetheart, I'm not asking." She sat up too fast. She was wearing a t-shirt she didn't remember putting on. Not hers. Hers were old, soft from too many washes. This one was new, black, long enough to brush her thighs. She swallowed. Did he undress me? Before panic could rise, she noticed something on the nightstand. Her uniform, folded neatly, still buttoned to the top. her bra and jeans folded too, and a small white note leaning against a glass of water. You fell asleep. I told Rosa not to wake you. Her shoulders loosened an inch. Okay. So he hadn't touched her while she slept. He'd had someone else, Rosa. Take care of her. That helped. That helped a lot. But it also meant something else. There are people who work for him, in here, in his home. Her eyes moved around the room. The guest bedroom was bigger than her entire apartment, pale walls, clean lines, thick curtains pulled half open to the skyline. There was a chair in the corner beside a low table with a small tray. Painkillers, a bottle of water, and, she blinked, a protein bar. He left food for me. That shouldn't have made her feel the way it did. She slid out of bed slowly. The floor was warm under her bare feet, like the whole place had its own quiet heat under the marble. She padded to the mirror in the corner and almost didn't recognize herself. Puffy eyes, hair half fallen out of her ponytail. The faint mark on her wrist from where Bennett's guy had grabbed her. She rubbed it gently, remembering the way Marco had touched the same spot and gone still. You're staying somewhere else tonight. Not a question. A knock sounded from outside the bedroom, firm but not harsh. Lisa startled. Yeah? The door opened a few inches and a tall man leaned in. Not Marco. Dark hair, broad shoulders, sleeves pushed up, tattoos running over his forearm and disappearing under his shirt. He looked like trouble but spoke like respect. Ms. Smith, he said. I'm Luca. Boss asked me to check if you're up. Boss. Right, of course. Lisa pulled the hem of the shirt down over her bare legs. I'm up. Good. Luca set a folded stack of clothes on a chair without stepping inside the room. These are for you. They should fit. Rosa guessed sizes. If anything is off, tell me, and I'll have it fixed. Her brow pulled. You bought me clothes? He shrugged like it wasn't a big deal. Yeah. You bought me clothes in the middle of the night. He let out half a laugh. You think Conti's taking you back to that diner in the same uniform you were wearing when the senator's people tried to corner you? Come on. Her mouth parted. I'm going back to work? Luca's expression flickered. That depends on what work means after today. Before she could ask, Luca's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then at her. His voice dropped, losing the easy tone. Eat something. He's waiting in the kitchen. Don't make him wait. Then he was gone. The door clicked shut, and Lisa stood there for a second, heartbeat thudding in her throat. He's waiting in the kitchen. Something about that hit her harder than expected. Not an office. Not a meeting room. Not, he'll see you when he's free. He's in the kitchen, waiting for you. She dressed quickly. The new clothes were simple. Fitted black leggings, soft gray sweater, fresh socks. Nothing flashy. Nothing that screamed I belong to a man like him. Just comfortable, thoughtful. And yes, they fit perfectly. That detail unsettled her more than any gun or threat ever could. How do you know my size, Marco? When she stepped into the hallway, she realized how private this place really was. It wasn't sterile like a hotel. It wasn't gaudy rich person taste either. It was controlled, minimal, nothing lying around that didn't need to be there. The kind of space designed by someone who didn't like being surprised. Cameras in the corners, reinforced doors, locked cabinets. She noticed it all and understood one thing instantly. People don't get in here unless he wants them in here, which meant he let me in. Her stomach fluttered. The kitchen wasn't what she expected. She'd pictured cold stone counters and chrome everywhere. Instead, it felt warm. Dim lighting, heavy wood table, coffee already made, steam curling up from 2 mugs. Marco was leaning against the counter with his jacket off, sleeves rolled to his forearms, tie on the table. He looked less like a roomer and more like a man this close, stubble on his jaw, strong shoulders under a white dress shirt, a vein in his forearm that flexed when he moved. He wasn't posing. He wasn't trying. That was the problem. Her breath stalled for half a second. He looked up. and when his eyes landed on her, his whole face changed. That was the second problem. She'd seen men look at her before, sure. Quick scans, lazy grins, hands that felt entitled just because she brought ketchup to their table. This wasn't that. Marco didn't look at her like something to touch. He looked at her like something he already considered his. "Morning," he said quietly. "It's still dark out," she managed. The corner of his mouth lifted. "Then it's not morning yet." Her eyes flicked to the mugs. "Is that for me?" "Yes," he said. "Sit." She sat at the table because her body did what his voice told it to do, before her brain could decide whether or not she liked that. "Eat," he said, sliding a plate toward her. "Toast, eggs, bacon. Real bacon, not whatever thin supermarket pack she sometimes bought on Sundays if it was on clearance." "I'm not hungry," she said automatically. He didn't blink. "Eat anyway." She picked up the fork. "You always talk to people like that?" "No." "Just me?" "Yes." Her stomach did something that should not have felt good. She took a bite, and her body betrayed her immediately. She had been hungry. She hadn't eaten since yesterday afternoon. Marco watched her silently for a few seconds, not in a creepy way, more like he was checking. "Are you actually okay, or should I be hunting someone down right now?" Finally, he said it. "They came after you because of me." Lisa's fork paused in midair. He continued, voice even. "Bennett's people don't care about you. They care about optics. His daughter humiliates a waitress. Video goes online. His kid looks bad. He can't touch me without starting something he won't survive. So he tried to get to me through you. That's why they were there." Her chest tightened. "So I got pulled into this because you stood up." "You got pulled into this," he corrected, "because a spoiled little girl thinks service workers are beneath her, and her father taught her that money erases guilt. I just interrupted the part where you were supposed to swallow it and say thank you." Her throat burned. He said it casually, like he'd been sitting in that dark corner booth for months watching people like Olivia Bennett spit on girls like her, and he'd finally had enough. Lisa looked down at her plate. "Nobody has ever stopped something like that for me." His brow lifted slightly. "Nobody ever wiped your face before?" Her eyes snapped up. "Don't say it like that." "Like what?" "Like it was nothing." His jaw flexed, like he wanted to say 10 things and swallowed all of them. He leaned forward instead, forearms on the table, lowering his voice. "It wasn't nothing," he said. "That's the point." Silence pressed in for a few seconds. Her face felt hot. She didn't know where to look. She tried to breathe around the weight in her chest. "Everyone's saying your name." "I know. They said you're dangerous." "I am." That directness should have scared her. It didn't. Not the way it should have. She swallowed. "Dangerous to who?" A slow breath moved through his chest. Then he said it, steady and truthful. "Not to you." Every muscle in her body went tight. Her instinct told her not to believe that. Men said things. Men promised things. Men swore they'd never, and then they did. But something in the way he'd walked into that diner at 2 in the morning, something in the way 2 grown men with fake badges had backed up the second his eyes cut toward them. That wasn't a line. That was evidence. He wasn't asking her to trust him. He was showing her why she should. Lisa pushed her plate away a little and exhaled. "What happens now?" Marco didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into a folder on the table and slid a stack of printed screenshots toward her. "This." Lisa blinked. "What is that?" "Your face," he said. "Online." Her stomach dropped. Her own image stared back at her from a dozen angles, all frozen mid-humiliation. Olivia laughing, her friend filming. Lisa looking stunned, hurt, small. Words overlaid on some of them. Waitress attacks senator's daughter, violent diner worker. Goes after minor. "Are you serious?" Lisa whispered. "I didn't touch her." "Nobody cares about the truth," Marco said calmly. "They care about who posts first." Her hands shook. "I didn't do anything wrong." "I know." Her throat tightened so hard it hurt. That's what did it. Not the protection, not the money, not the SUV, the clothes, the guarded building, the private elevator. That, I know. Her eyes burned. She blinked fast, furious at herself. Great, so I'm violent diner trash now, in front of the whole internet. Marco's voice dropped. You're not trash. She forced out a laugh. Yeah? Tell that to the comments section. I don't care about the comments section. I do, she snapped, louder than she meant to. She swallowed and dropped her voice. That's my face. That's my job. That's my life. You walk into places and people shut up. People don't do that for me. I don't get to just exist in the background anymore. You understand that, right? You lit up a spotlight on me. Something dark flickered in his eyes. Not anger at her. Anger at himself. He nodded once. You're right. She blinked. She hadn't expected him to agree. He leaned back in his chair and said in that same quiet, controlled voice, Then we adjust. Her breath caught. Adjust how? You're not going back to the diner. Her heart lurched. What? It's not safe, he said. Bennett's not done. He'll either try to scare you again, or pay you to lie, or set you up to look like you're unstable so nobody believes you. I'm not letting you walk into that. Her pulse hammered. You can't just tell me to quit my job. That job pays my rent. It did, he corrected. Past tense. Her face heated, anger flaring. Oh, I see, right. So now I'm just, what? Some girl you're going to keep in an apartment so you feel big? Am I supposed to sit on your couch, look pretty, and shut up? Something flickered in his expression. Luca, if he'd been in the room, would have warned her. Don't poke him like that. But Luca wasn't in the room. Marco stood slowly, palms flat on the table, and leaned over until his face was inches from hers. His voice when he spoke was low, even, and devastating. Listen to me very carefully, Lisa. I am not paying you to be quiet. I am not putting you in some little glass box because you look good in my apartment. I am keeping you alive because I like breathing in a world where you exist. Do you understand me? Everything inside her went still. He didn't blink. He didn't smirk. He didn't look away. He meant every single word. Her lips parted. Nothing came out. When she didn't answer, Marco pushed away from the table and straightened his sleeves again, pulling his control back on like a jacket. You'll stay here for a few days. We'll get this handled. We? She whispered. Yes, he said. Her voice shook. Marco, you keep saying it like I belong to you. His eyes met hers again. Calm, direct. No apology. You do. Her breath stuttered. That was too much? It should have made her push back, scream, run, tell him he was insane. Instead, heat flushed low in her stomach. Marco, she whispered, almost afraid of her own voice. You can't just claim people. Watch me. Her heart tripped so hard she had to steady her hand on the table. He watched that. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, like holding himself still took effort. Then, for the first time, his voice softened. You haven't asked me anything yet. She blinked. What do you mean? You haven't asked me who I am, he said quietly. What I do. What it means if people see you with me. Her throat felt dry. Should I be scared to ask? No, he said. You should be scared not to. Her pulse climbed. He didn't make her ask. He just told her. I run things in this city that men like Bennett pretend they don't know about, he said calmly. Clubs, money, security, favors. I decide who gets touched and who doesn't. I decide whose daughter gets to walk home alone and whose daughter gets dragged into a car. I don't allow certain business. I don't tolerate certain behavior. Men like Bennett call me a criminal in public and ask me for help in private. Lisa stared at him. You think I don't know what his daughter's been doing? Marco continued. You think I haven't seen the videos? Olivia and her friends record service girls, humiliate them, get them drunk for sport, live stream them crying. Your face isn't the first one they've posted. It's just the first one anybody cared about because I was standing in the frame. Her stomach twisted. They've done this before? More than once, he said. You weren't their first target. You were just the first one who had someone to stand up and say, no. She felt sick, angry, hot, humiliated, grateful, all at once. She swallowed. So that's why Bennett's coming after me. He's not defending his daughter's honor, Marco said. He's covering his campaign. He slid another page toward her, this one a printout of some political headline with Bennett's face beside words like family values and protecting our girls. Lisa let out a humorless laugh. That's disgusting. That's politics, Marco said. Disgusting is the brand. She looked up at him, feeling small and furious and strangely steady at the same time. And what are you? He held her gaze for a long beat. Honest, he said. It wasn't the answer she expected. It was better. She sucked in a slow breath. And what am I to you? The question slipped out before she could stop it. Something shifted in his eyes. Not softer. Deeper. He stepped closer. Not touching, but so close she felt the warmth of him. You, he said quietly, are something I don't let people ruin. Her heart pounded so hard it almost hurt. Something about the way he said it. Not you're pretty. Not I feel bad for you. Not I'm a good guy, see? Went under her ribs and stayed there. Lisa swallowed. Marco. He leaned down just enough that his breath brushed her cheek. From now on, you sleep where I know you're safe. You eat. You don't lie for anyone. You don't apologize for existing. You let me handle anything that comes through that door. That's the deal. Her voice broke. And if I say no? He didn't smile. He didn't back off. Sweetheart, he murmured, you won't. Her knees felt weak. It should have scared her how much that thrilled her. A sharp knock hit the front door of the penthouse. Marco's eyes flicked toward the hallway. Instantly, the softness vanished. The air around him hardened. He straightened. Stay here, he said. Lisa grabbed his sleeve without thinking. Wait. His gaze dropped to where her fingers curled into his shirt. For a split second, his expression changed. His eyes went darker. His jaw ticked. He took in a slow breath like he was holding something back that wanted out. Then he gently pried her hand free and pressed her knuckles to his mouth. Not a kiss. Not exactly. Just a touch. A claim. Stay, he repeated, voice low. He turned and walked down the hall with slow, measured steps that told her he was already calculating a dozen outcomes. Lisa stood there, pulse racing, every nerve awake. She heard the front door open. Muffled voices. Luca's voice first, low. Boss, we've got a problem. Marco. Tell me. Luca. Bennett went public. He's putting out a statement at noon. He's telling press his daughter was assaulted. He named Lisa. Her blood ran cold. Named. Full name. Out loud. Lisa pressed a hand to her chest and felt her own heartbeat under her palm. Luca kept talking, voice tighter now. He's calling her unstable. He's saying she's been harassing his family for weeks. He's painting you like you're using her to go after a minor. Marco didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was calm, controlled, lethal. Okay, he said softly. Then we're done playing nice. Lisa swallowed hard. Luca lowered his voice. You want me to leak it? Leak what? Leak what? Marco. Not yet. But get everything ready. Every clip, every screenshot, every timestamp. If Bennett wants a war in public, I'll give him a funeral in public. Lisa's breath hitched. A long silence followed. She didn't hear all of what Luca said next, just words like press, social, and governor's office. Then she heard Luca ask something that made her heart slam against her ribs. What about the girl? Luca said. You want her moved or you keeping her here? Keeping her here. Her stomach flipped. Marco didn't hesitate. She stays with me. Lisa felt heat rush to her face. Luca let out a low sound that might have been a laugh. Boss? What? You know what? A pause. Then Luca, in a lower tone. Just saying, I've known you a long time. I've never heard you sound like this over anybody. Silence. Lisa held her breath. When Marco finally answered, his voice had that calm steel again. Luca. Yeah? From now on, Marco said, everyone in this building understands something very clearly, which is, if anyone so much as looks at Lisa Smith like she's a problem instead of a priority, they don't work for me anymore. Lisa's lungs forgot how to work for a full second. Priority. He called me a priority. Her heart thudded so hard she had to brace herself on the counter. The conversation at the door quieted. Boots moved. The lock clicked again. The silence in the penthouse dropped back down around her, heavy and private. A moment later, Marco returned to the kitchen. He looked different now. Not physically. Same rolled sleeves, same loosened tie. But there was something in his eyes that hadn't been there 20 minutes ago. It wasn't softness or warmth. It was decision. He walked straight up to her. Close. Closer than before. Close enough that she had to tilt her chin up to meet his eyes. Pack a small bag, he said. Her brows pulled. For what? We're going out, he said. Her stomach tightened. Out where? His gaze didn't waver. To fix this. Her mouth went dry. Marco, I can't be seen with you in public. They're already saying I'm... That's exactly why you're coming with me, he said. Bennett thinks he can drag your name through the mud because he thinks you're alone. You're not. Today, people learn that. Her pulse kicked hard. Marco. He lifted a hand. His knuckles brushed her jaw. Slow. Careful. Nothing demanding. Just contact. Her breath caught. He looked down at her like she was already his and said quietly, You're under me now. That means nobody touches you. Not online. Not in person. Not with a rumor. Not with a headline. I don't care if their father sits in an office with a flag behind his name. Her heart beat so hard it felt like it might bruise her ribs. He lowered his voice even more. Lisa, look at me. She was already looking. I am not letting anyone rewrite who you are, he said. Not for votes, not for money, not for a clip on some teenager's phone. Her lips parted. And who am I? He didn't blink. Mine, he said. Her breath hitched. She should have said no. She should have told him he was insane. She should have told him she wasn't property. Instead, in a voice she almost didn't recognize as her own, she whispered, Okay. Something dangerous flickered in his eyes then. Pride, hunger, relief, possession all tangled into one. He exhaled slowly through his nose like that single word from her had eased something tight inside his chest. Good girl, he murmured. Her knees nearly gave out. He stepped back just enough to let her breathe. 5 minutes, bag, nothing complicated. Toothbrush, whatever you need. Luca's waiting downstairs. She swallowed and nodded. She turned to go, heart in her throat, body buzzing like a live wire. Then she paused and looked back over her shoulder. Marco? He stopped in the doorway. Yeah? Her voice came out small and raw. Am I in danger because of you? His answer was instant. No, he said. You're in danger without me. Her stomach flipped. And Lisa, he added quietly, that ends today. She didn't know what it meant yet. She didn't know what he was planning to do to Senator Bennett. She didn't know what it would look like to walk into the world on Marco Conti's arm, what line she was crossing, what she couldn't come back from. But she knew one thing with absolute clarity. For the first time in her life, someone dangerous wasn't the problem. He was the protection. And if that was true, then she wasn't just some waitress anymore. She was about to become a problem for the wrong people, a very big one. By noon the next day, Lisa's world was on fire. The video was everywhere, on news sites, on social media, on every phone in town. Only now, it wasn't the raw clip from the diner. It was edited, cut, twisted, rearranged until it told a lie that fit Senator Richard Bennett's story. Lisa stared at the television in Marco's living room, her hands cold around a cup of untouched coffee. The screen showed Olivia crying, mascara smudged, voice trembling, pretending to relive the attack. Reporters nodded solemnly. The banner at the bottom of the screen read, Senator's daughter speaks out. Claims waitress and local mobster harassed her. Lisa's stomach turned. She's lying, she whispered. Marco stood behind the couch, his arms crossed. His face was calm, too calm. I know. The reporter continued. The senator has called for a full investigation into Marco Conti, who's been long suspected of criminal activity in the city. He's accused of coercing the young waitress into participating in an online campaign to damage the Bennett family name. Lisa dropped the remote. Coercing me? Her voice cracked. They're saying I'm... What, your accomplice? Marco didn't answer. He was already making a call. Pull every clip, he told Luca. Full diner footage, uncut, get timestamps. I want the original camera files from the diner security feed, now. He ended the call and looked at her. They want to make this public? Fine. We'll go public. Lisa stood, pacing. No, you can't. Marco, you'll make it worse. He's a senator. He turned his head slowly toward her, his eyes steady. He's a father who raised a bully and built a career on lies. He picked a fight with the wrong people. Lisa's pulse raced. You're talking about ruining a politician's career. He stepped closer. I'm talking about protecting you. She shook her head. You don't have to destroy him for me. He smiled faintly, but it wasn't warm. Sweetheart, you still don't understand. I don't destroy people for you. I destroy people who touch what's mine. Lisa froze. Every word felt like a promise she wasn't ready to hear, and yet her chest ached with the dangerous comfort of it. Before she could answer, Luca burst through the door, laptop in hand. We got it, he said. Security footage from inside the diner, full view of the table. Olivia spits on her, clear as day, no cuts, no edits. Marco motioned. Show me. Luca set the laptop on the table. The video played, raw, real. There she was, small and exhausted, trying to keep her head down. Olivia sneering. The spit. Marco standing up, towering over the chaos. Lisa couldn't look away. Seeing it again from another angle made her chest tighten. It wasn't just humiliation anymore. It was proof. Luca spoke, eyes on the screen. We leaked this to the press. Bennett's done. Marco's gaze never left the video. No. We don't leak it yet. Luca frowned. Boss. Marco's tone dropped. We give him a chance to pull back first. He wants to humiliate a waitress? Let's see how he likes being the one on his knees. He looked at Lisa. You trust me? Her lips parted. I don't even know what you're going to do. Good, he said softly. Then you won't lie when they ask. By afternoon, Lisa's phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Journalists called. Anonymous numbers texted threats. One said, you'll regret crossing the Bennetts. Another, trash like you should stay silent. Her hands shook as she turned the phone over and over. Marco, I can't. He took it from her, turned it off, and placed it face down on the counter. You don't answer unknown numbers again, ever. She stared at him. This isn't normal. No, he said. This is war. He walked to the window, phone pressed to his ear again. Send word to DeLuca, he said quietly. Pull Bennett's campaign financials. Every donation, every offshore account. I want to know where every dollar came from. Start with the construction contracts he buried last year. Lisa's voice trembled. What are you doing? Making sure, Marco said, that when Bennett falls, he doesn't get up. She rubbed her temples. Marco, this is insane. You can't just... He turned, gaze sharp. He used his daughter to humiliate you. Then he used you to save himself. You still want to protect him. Her voice broke. No. I don't want anyone hurt. For a moment, he softened. Neither do I. But people like Bennett understand only pain, reputation, money, fear. We'll use the only language they speak. She didn't know what scared her more, his calm certainty or how right he sounded. That night, she stood on the balcony of the penthouse, looking out over the city. Wind tugged at her hair. Far below, traffic lights blinked like restless stars. Behind her, the sliding door opened. Marco stepped out, holding 2 glasses of whiskey. He offered her one. I don't drink, she said. You do tonight. She took it anyway. It burned going down. For a while, neither of them spoke. Finally, Lisa whispered, I don't get it. You could ignore me. You could let Bennett crush me. You have no reason to fight this hard. Marco's eyes stayed on the skyline. You're wrong. Then tell me. He glanced at her, expression unreadable. Because when I was a kid, my mother cleaned houses for people like him, people who smiled while they made her feel small. She died believing she was less than them. Lisa's throat tightened. He looked at her again. I promised myself a long time ago that if I ever saw another woman treated like that, I'd make sure whoever did it remembered her name. She blinked back tears. You think you can fix the world like that? No, he said quietly. But I can fix this. The next morning, the world woke up to chaos. Headlines everywhere. Leaked footage shows senator's daughter attacking waitress Bennett family caught in scandal. Public demands. Answers. The real footage, the uncut version, had been released anonymously at dawn. Millions of views in an hour. Olivia's spit, crystal clear. The sound of laughter. The cruel tone in her voice. And then, the calm voice that cut through everything. You're going to apologize. And you're going to mean it. Marco's. The internet went wild. Some people still hated Lisa, but most didn't. Hashtags flipped overnight. Justice for Lisa trended. Strangers defended her online. Someone wrote, she stood there alone until the Mafia boss stood up. I'd kill for that kind of loyalty. Lisa sat on the couch, speechless. You leaked it. Marco didn't look up from his phone. I said we'd give him a chance. He didn't take it. She pressed her hand to her mouth. He's finished. He looked at her then, slow, deliberate. No, sweetheart. He's exposed. He's not finished yet. What else could you possibly... A knock interrupted her. Luca entered holding a file. Boss, Bennett's lawyers are folding. Sponsors are pulling out. He's holding a press conference tonight. Marco's smile was small, cold. He'll deny. Then the rest drops. The rest? Lisa asked. Marco nodded toward the folder. Evidence of his campaign money laundering. Every deal he made with the same companies he pretends to fight. Lisa's stomach twisted. You had that all along. I told you, he said. I run this city. I know where the bodies are buried. I just don't always dig them up. He stood, buttoning his jacket. Come on. She blinked. Where are we going now? He looked at her like it should be obvious. To the diner. The diner? She echoed, stunned. You said people think you're trash. He said. Let's remind them what trash looks like standing beside me. Lisa's pulse raced. Marco, if people see me with you... They already have, he said. Let's make sure they see what that means. Miller's diner looked smaller than she remembered. The same cracked floor tiles, the same smell of coffee and oil, the same old neon sign flickering in the window. But when Marco Conti walked in holding her hand, the entire room went silent. Cups froze mid-air. A waiter dropped a fork. Someone muttered his name like a prayer or a curse. Lisa's heart pounded, but she didn't pull away. They sat in the same booth where he'd watched everything happen. He ordered 2 coffees like he'd been doing it all his life. The waitress who came to take their order, a shy girl with freckles, looked terrified. Marco gave her a faint smile. Don't worry, sweetheart. We're just here to eat. The girl nodded too fast and ran off. Lisa leaned forward, whispering, You like scaring people, don't you? His eyes stayed on hers. No, I like being understood. Her breath caught. He looked around the diner at the same people who'd watched her humiliation in silence a week ago. Funny, isn't it? How quiet they get now. She swallowed. They're scared of you. He met her eyes again. And they'll never hurt you because of it. She didn't know what to say, so she just whispered, Thank you. He reached across the table, fingers brushing hers. You don't thank a man for breathing. You just breathe with him. The words settled between them like a promise. Hours later, the senator's press conference aired live. Bennett denied everything, voice trembling, eyes darting off camera. He blamed deepfakes, fabrication, the criminal underworld. Then, at the perfect moment, halfway through his speech, another video dropped. Not from Marco, from one of Olivia's own friends who'd decided to save herself. Footage from another party, another waitress, another humiliation. It was over. The Bennetts vanished from the news cycle in 24 hours. Olivia's social media accounts disappeared. Sponsors withdrew. The campaign collapsed. Lisa sat on the couch, speechless, staring at the screen. "It's done," Marco said. She turned to him. "You really did it." He looked at her, eyes soft now, the storm gone. "No. We did." She smiled weakly. "You're going to make me believe in you, you know that?" He leaned closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "Good." For the first time since the night in the diner, Lisa exhaled without shaking. But as Marco pulled her close and kissed the top of her head, she didn't see the message lighting up on Luca's phone in the hallway. "They know about the girl. Her ex just called. Says he's coming." The world had finally gone quiet. For the first time in days, there were no flashing headlines, no calls from reporters, no messages full of threats or pity. Lisa thought she could breathe again. She was wrong. It was just after 9 in the evening. The city glowed outside Marco's penthouse windows, endless lights reflecting off the glass, the hum of traffic far below. She was curled on the couch, wrapped in one of his gray sweaters, trying to convince herself she still belonged to her old life somehow. Then came the knock. Hard, angry, familiar. Lisa froze. The sound cut straight through her chest like a blade. Marco was still in his office, speaking quietly with Luca about Bennett's final collapse. She stood, hesitating. Another knock, louder this time. "Lisa!" A man's voice shouted from the hall. Her stomach dropped. No, not here, not him. She crossed to the door, heart hammering. "Derek?" she whispered through the wood. "Open up," the voice slurred. "You think you can hide from me now?" Her pulse went wild. "You need to leave." "Not until we talk," he yelled, fists pounding again. "You think you're better than me now? You think you can disappear and shack up with some rich bastard?" Lisa stumbled back as the lock clicked. Marco's lock, secure and heavy. Derek didn't care. He slammed his shoulder into the door once, twice. Then it opened from the inside. Marco filled the doorway. He didn't need to say a word. The air in the hallway thickened, the kind of silence that made even the drunkest man sober fast. Derek blinked, suddenly uncertain. "Who the hell are you?" Marco's voice was calm, quiet, and colder than the rain outside. "The man you should have prayed not to meet." "Yeah?" Derek laughed nervously. "You her new sugar daddy? You think she's—" The sentence ended when Marco's hand hit his chest. Not a punch, just pressure. Enough to pin him back against the hallway wall. The sound of Derek's breath leaving his lungs filled the corridor. "You don't get to say her name," Marco said. "Marco—" Lisa tried, stepping forward. He didn't even glance back. "Stay inside." "Please," she whispered, shaking. "He's not worth it." Marco turned his head slightly, enough for her to see the line of his jaw tighten. "He put his hands on you once. That's worth everything." Derek's eyes went wide. "What the— Who told you that?" "I did," Lisa said softly. Marco's gaze cut back to Derek. "You're going to walk away right now. You're going to forget she exists. You're going to disappear because if you don't—" He leaned closer, his voice dropping to something that made even the walls seem to listen. "You'll pray I only ruin your life." Derek's skin went pale. He nodded too fast. "Fine. Fine, man. Whatever. I didn't mean— Go." And just like that, Derek was gone. Stumbling down the hall, muttering curses under his breath, too afraid to look back. Marco closed the door, locked it again, and turned toward her. His face was unreadable. Lisa's voice trembled. "You can't just threaten people like that." He took a step forward. "I didn't threaten him." She blinked. You literally just did." He shook his head once. No, if I had, you'd know. That shut her up. The anger that had been burning in her chest collapsed into something else. Confusion, fear, gratitude, and something deeper she couldn't name. Why do you care so much? She whispered. Marco's eyes locked on hers. Because he touched what's mine. Her breath caught. Stop saying that. Why? Because I'm not yours, she said, her voice cracking between defiance and desperation. You can't just decide that because you scared a few people. He moved before she could step back. Not fast, not rough, just certain. His hand braced the wall beside her head, the other catching her wrist gently. The same one Derek had grabbed the night of the diner incident. His voice came low, controlled. You think I did this to scare people? I don't know what you're doing, she snapped, tears threatening again. You act like you own me, but you don't even know me. I know you work double shifts until your hands shake, he said, his tone rising for the first time. I know you give half your tips to your sister so she can pay rent. I know you skip dinner to make sure there's milk in her fridge. I know you're too proud to ask anyone for help. And I know you went home crying that night, not because of what that girl did, but because you were used to nobody caring. Her throat closed. He leaned closer, voice rough now. So don't tell me I don't know you. Lisa's back hit the wall. Her heart pounded so loud she could barely hear herself breathe. You think I'm helping you because I feel sorry for you? He continued. I'm helping you because you walked into that diner months ago with bruises on your wrist and didn't tell anyone who gave them to you. Because when people like Bennett laugh at you, you stand there and still tell them, have a nice day. Because you don't see what I see. She swallowed hard. What do you see? His jaw clenched. A woman who doesn't know her own worth. And I'm done watching her pretend she's nothing. Tears finally broke free. You can't just fix me. I'm not trying to fix you, he said, softer now. I'm trying to claim what I already decided was mine. She shook her head. You can't just claim people. He exhaled slowly. Watch me. He stepped closer, just enough for his breath to touch her cheek, for his presence to drown out every thought she had left. Her pulse stuttered. Her hands went up to his chest, meaning to push him away. Instead, her fingers curled into his shirt. Marco. He didn't kiss her. Not yet. He waited, eyes on hers, breathing controlled, giving her space to say no. She didn't. She rose on her toes and their mouths met halfway. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't careful. It was years of silence and anger and loneliness colliding all at once. His hand slid up to her neck, not choking, just anchoring her, keeping her from slipping away again. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, she whispered, You don't even like people. His thumb brushed her jaw. You're not people. A laugh escaped her throat, shaky and real. That's not a compliment. It is from me. She looked up at him. Dangerous, unshakable, impossible. And for the first time, she didn't see a man she should fear. She saw a man who'd already chosen her, long before she realized she'd chosen him back. Hours later, Lisa sat on the edge of his bed, wearing his shirt again, watching him by the window. He hadn't moved for a while, phone in hand, tie undone, expression unreadable. You're thinking, she said quietly. He glanced over his shoulder. I'm always thinking. What about? Bennett, he said simply. And you. Her heart skipped. Both in the same sentence? He turned toward her, lips curling faintly. They're connected now. She looked down at her hands. That's not fair to you. He walked to her slowly, the city's light tracing his silhouette. Fair stopped mattering the second he put your name in his mouth. He crouched in front of her, resting his hands on her knees. Tomorrow it's over. His people will fold. The story dies. And you? He paused, searching her face. You start over. New name if you want it. New job. Whatever you need. Her eyes filled again. Why are you doing this for me? He smiled slightly. Because you'd never do it for yourself. Marco. He stood, reaching for her hand, pulling her gently to her feet. You don't owe me anything, Lisa, but you do owe yourself peace. So when this ends, you go find it. Understand?" She frowned. "What about you?" He brushed his thumb along her cheek. "I don't get peace." Her voice trembled. "Then take mine." He froze, actually froze, as if she'd just handed him something sacred. Then he did what he hadn't allowed himself to before. He kissed her again, slow this time, almost reverent. When he pulled back, he whispered against her lips, "You should sleep." "I can't." He smiled softly. "Then don't." They stood there, foreheads pressed together, breathing in sync, the city lights flickering around them like stars too close to touch. For the first time in years, Lisa didn't feel small. She felt seen. She felt chosen. And somewhere deep down, she knew this was the point of no return. Because when a man like Marco Conti decides to love you, the whole world bends to make room for it. But even peace doesn't last long in his world. At sunrise, Luca stormed into the room, out of breath. "Boss," he said, "we've got a problem." Marco didn't even look up. "Say it." Luca hesitated, then handed him a phone. "Bennett's not done. He's pressing charges, not against you, against her. Claims she blackmailed his daughter with footage." Lisa's blood turned to ice. "What?" Marco's jaw tightened. "Get the car." "Where are we going?" she asked, fear creeping back in. He looked at her, eyes blazing. "To end this, once and for all." He took her hand, firm and protective. And as they walked out the door together, Lisa realized she wasn't just part of Marco Conti's world anymore. She was the reason it was about to burn. By the time the sun rose over the city, Lisa's world was spinning again. The television blared headlines she didn't want to hear, but couldn't turn away from. Breaking news. Senator Bennett files, charges against waitress in viral video, claims of blackmail and collusion with alleged mob figure Marco Conti. Lisa sat frozen on the couch in Marco's penthouse, the phone trembling in her hand. "He's really doing it," she whispered. "He's dragging me down with him." Marco stood by the window, hands in his pockets, shoulders tense. He had that stillness again, the kind that came before something dangerous. "He's cornered," Marco said quietly. "And cornered men make stupid choices." Lisa looked up at him, tears threatening again. "They're calling me a criminal, Marco. They're saying I'm part of you." He turned, eyes meeting hers. "You are part of me." Her breath caught. "That's not what I meant." "It's what I meant." He pulled out his phone, dialed without looking, voice steady as ever. "Luca, line it up. We go live in 1 hour." Lisa's head jerked up. "Go live? What are you talking about?" He finally looked at her, the way he did when he'd already made up his mind. "If Bennett wants the world to see you as the villain, then the world is going to see the truth instead. Every clip, every message, every file his daughter deleted. We're not hiding anymore." Lisa shook her head. "You can't just leak more things. They'll come for you." He stepped forward, voice low. "They've been coming for me my whole life. But this time, sweetheart, I get to choose the battlefield." 1 hour later, they stood side by side in Marco's office, a panoramic view of downtown stretching behind them. Lights, skyscrapers, the hum of a city that never looked away for long. A small camera light blinked red on the desk. Luca adjusted the laptop streaming feed, murmured, "We're live in 3, 2. Marco didn't wait for the countdown. "This message," he began, "is for Senator Richard Bennett, and for every person who watched a video and decided a woman's silence was proof of guilt." Lisa's hands trembled beside him. He reached for them under the desk, lacing his fingers through hers. Subtle, grounding. He continued, calm but lethal. "A week ago, Bennett's daughter spat in the face of a working woman, a waitress doing her job, while her friends filmed it for laughs. When the truth came out, Bennett decided to protect his campaign instead of his daughter's soul. He accused that same woman of blackmail. He called her unstable. He called me a criminal." He leaned closer to the mic, his voice dropping. "He was right about one thing. I am not a politician. I don't make promises I can't keep. So here's one I will keep. If anyone touches Lisa Smith again, in print or in person, I'll make sure they never speak her name again." Luca winced, muttering, "Subtle as always, boss." Marco ignored him. He turned to Lisa. "Your turn." Her throat went dry. "Marco, I can't." "Yes, you can." She took a shaky breath and looked straight into the camera. Her voice wavered at first but grew stronger with each word. "My name is Lisa Smith. I've worked since I was 16. I've served people who don't remember my face, and I've smiled through more insults than I can count. I didn't blackmail anyone. I didn't lie. All I did was say no to a girl who thought she could buy respect, and I won't apologize for that." The silence afterward felt heavy, electric. Marco gave her a small nod. Luca ended the stream. "It's out there," he said quietly. "And it's spreading fast." An hour later, the city had seen it. The full diner footage. The uncropped video of Olivia's cruelty. The audio of Bennett ordering his aides to make the girl disappear. Every message, every lie, every mask ripped away. News outlets scrambled. Commentators reversed sides. Hashtags flipped again. Justice for Lisa trended worldwide. Lisa sat by the window stunned, watching her own face on TV. "It's really over," she whispered. Marco stood behind her, phone in hand. "Not yet." He ended a call and slipped the phone into his pocket. "Bennett's resigning by morning." Lisa turned. "You planned this from the start." He met her gaze evenly. "I planned to win." She gave a shaky laugh. "You're impossible." He smiled faintly. "And you're free." The words hit her harder than she expected. Free. She hadn't realized how heavy it had been until now. She looked at him for a long time, the man who'd turned her world upside down, and said softly, "What happens to us now?" He tilted his head. "Us?" She nodded. "You said I was yours." "What does that mean when the war's over?" Marco walked closer, stopping right in front of her. The light from the window cut across his face, sharp lines of shadow and gold. "It means the same thing it meant before the war started." Her voice trembled. "Which is?" He reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "It means you don't serve anyone again." Her heart skipped. That's not an answer. His eyes softened, the rare kind of softness that only appeared when he looked at her. "It means I want you beside me. No hiding, no shame, no more pretending you're small." She swallowed. "And if I say yes?" He smiled, slow and dangerous. "Then I stop pretending I can live without you." Lisa stared at him, unable to breathe. "And if I say no?" His thumb traced her jaw. "Then I wait until you change your mind." She tried to laugh, but tears came instead. "You're impossible." He brushed them away with his thumb. "And you're the first thing in my life that isn't negotiable." Her breath hitched. "Marco." He leaned closer, his voice low, steady, the kind that made the whole world disappear. "I've done terrible things. I've taken. I've hurt. I've broken. But with you, I learned something I didn't know I still could. How to want something good." Lisa's tears finally fell. "I'm not good." He smiled faintly. "You're better." She didn't know who kissed who first. Maybe it didn't matter. All she knew was that when his mouth found hers, everything that had been chaos, fear, pain, humiliation, guilt, finally went quiet. The kiss wasn't about rescue anymore. It wasn't about gratitude or protection. It was about belonging. Weeks later, Miller's Diner reopened under new management. The place looked brighter, polished booths, a new neon sign, laughter that didn't sound forced. At the same corner booth where it all began, Marco sat with Lisa. He looked more relaxed now, the faintest smile ghosting his mouth as he stirred his coffee. Across from them, the same waitress. The new girl, nervous and smiling, asked, "You folks need anything else?" Lisa glanced at Marco, teasing. "You should tip her well. Men in suits make her nervous." He smirked. "Men in suits make you nervous." "Not anymore," she said, smiling softly. Marco leaned back, watching her, the way her hair caught the sunlight, the way she laughed now without apology. You know, he said, I used to come here because it was quiet. She raised an eyebrow. And now? He reached across the table, brushing his fingers over hers. Now I come here because it's where I found you. Her heart swelled. From the next booth, a couple whispered. People still whispered about them sometimes, but Lisa didn't care. For the first time, she didn't shrink from it. She met Marco's eyes and smiled. You ever think you'd fall for a waitress? He chuckled quietly. I didn't fall. No. I walked straight into it with my eyes open. She laughed. That's a terrible line. He leaned closer. You're still here, aren't you? Yeah, she whispered, her voice soft but sure. I'm still here. Marco's hand came up, his fingers sliding under her chin, tilting her face toward his. Then that's all that matters. He kissed her again, slow, certain, claiming but tender. The kind of kiss that said, it's over now. Outside, the city kept moving. Cars, crowds, stories that had nothing to do with them. But inside the diner, time stopped. Lisa rested her forehead against his and smiled through the tears she didn't bother to hide. So this is peace? Marco nodded once. This is us. And for the first time in a long, long time, she believed him. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.